Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right. My next guest is another really good friend, French Hill, the great congressman from Arkansas. He is also the chairman of the very powerful Financial Services Committee in the House of Representatives. So, French, thanks for joining.
Steve, it's great to be with you. Great to hear Judy's voice, too. Enjoyed your interview.
So I now at Financial Services, you also have some oversight over the Fed, do you not?
We do. We oversee the Fed and its monetary policy operations and its bank supervisory function in the House. And we let the senators do that as well, but they have that very, very important civic mission of advise and consent.
Right. So, you heard it. If we get another opening, I think Judy Shelton would be an exceptional member of the Federal Reserve Board. So I'm just adding my 2 cents on that one, not lobbying you.
Excellent. Well, she's got the right track record, as you say. People that understand fully the monetary policy mission is critical. And we're opening a new chapter in financial history in the United States as we swear in Kevin Warsh as chairman. And I think it's, I hope, a chance to reassess our whole approach to monetary policy and supervision that we've had since the 2008 great financial crisis.
Boy, I hope you're right about that because we need it. And, let's face it, Jerome Powell was a failure. He's the one who let the inflation go up to 9% under under Biden, and we've just had a seesaw monetary policy. And so I have to say I'm very happy that he is leaving. Have you gotten to know Kevin Warsh at all? Have you met with him?
I have. I've met with him, and he and I were on a panel together last May at the Reagan Economic Summit at the Reagan Library.
Yep.
And I've read his materials. I've watched his work over the years. I think he brings a really fresh perspective. And, importantly, I think all your listeners should think about this. Not only does he have a successful track record in the private sector, he understands macroeconomics at an academic level.
Yep.
But he served on the board before during a difficult period. And I think those three things really prepare him for this mission.
So, here's I've got a little bit of anger about this, Congressman, because I'm talking to French Smith from Arkansas. He is so well qualified. He's a great man. I've known him for years. I have nothing but the highest respect for him in terms of his knowledge and his integrity. And what's going on? 45 Democrats in the Senate voted against him? Do they hate Trump that much?
Well, and this is my point. When you see someone with those qualifications, I would expect Democrats to step up and do their job and recognize that the President Trump conducted with Secretary Bessent a rigorous review of potential candidates, and they made a good selection.
They did.
So to just make it partisan in the face of continued economic challenges is ridiculous to me.
And speaking, I could not agree more. And you're just confirming what I've been saying as well. Let's see. Now we do have inflation that's creeping up again because of the high energy prices. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show, and I know how busy you are you have very little time off. So thank you for coming on a weekend. But you have a bill in the House, which I've looked at. I think it is a very strong bill to deal with the housing situation. And we have a shortage of housing. Housing prices are rising. Congressman, I have 3 sons. 2 of them are in their early 30s. They can't afford to buy a house. I bought my first house at 31 for $125,000. You couldn't come to find anything like that. Now, even with inflation, it'd be hard to find something like that. So what do we do about the housing crisis, and what would your bill do to help make housing more affordable?
You bet. It's so important. And this is a bipartisan bill, and both the House and Senate want to do a housing bill. They want to tackle two things. They want greater accessibility of housing, which is the supply issue, and they want to tackle the affordability issue. And our bill in the House particularly does that by lowering barriers to building more housing. We've removed like NEPA requirements, environmental surveys, things that raise the cost of housing in HUD programs. We've changed the building codes for the first time since 1976. I guess we do this once a year. We did it in the bicentennial. Now we're doing it in the semi-quincentennial.
Wow.
We are making it easier and less costly to build a house per square foot. How? We allow modular building techniques to be part of the HUD code. And if you change the HUD code, you change the code for all of America in 3,000 zoning districts. We changed the fact that in use of manufactured housing, we changed the HUD requirement that it has to have a chassis. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not, we don't have trailer homes manufactured like they were 50 and 60 years ago. We have some of the most sophisticated, resilient, energy efficient housing in America by manufacturing. So you remove that, you can now stack it. You can make a quadplex. You can make a duplex that's a manufactured product. That brings down the cost, increases the accessibility. And we've done that also by including in the House bill some very important deregulatory compliance burden reducing for our local community banks. These are important because 6 out of 10 home construction loans, so 60% of the home construction loans in this country are made by our banks under $10 billion, our small local Main Street banks. So we have targeted reducing regulations, reducing red tape, increasing financial ability, increase supply and lower cost. And finally, in the Senate bill, the Senate version of this bill, they have an Elizabeth Warren provision that has a mandate that is so costly it's going to reduce capital flowing into housing. She has a provision where she was trying to honor President Trump's idea of preventing big institutional investors from bidding against moms and dads trying to buy a family house. I get that the president talked about it in the State of the Union. But she swept in all kinds of home building. And her provision says that if you build new construction, a house to rent, that it has to be sold in 7 years. And so it shut down the financing market for a whole bunch of home building across the country. And it's a crisis. And in fact, Paul Clement wrote a piece that circulated on Capitol Hill. He believes that Elizabeth Warren's provision in the Senate bill amounts to a taking. And it's unconstitutional. And it's going to produce a bunch of litigation. So in the House bill, we took that out. We focused on supply side changes, deregulatory, increased access to capital for housing. And we believe this will help all of our families. And I hope to get it on the House floor this week.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Well, that's great news. And I like all of those ideas you talked about. By the way, I am not a fan of the idea that Trump proposed of not allowing institutional investors to buy housing. I think that would be detrimental to the development of housing in this country. And so I think, I agree with Donald Trump on 90% of the issues, but not that one. But there's something that Larry Kudlow and I and Art Laffer and others have been talking about. And I know you've been kind of following this too, which is to for residential properties like homes to allow people to index for capital gains there at the time of the sale. So, people now, as you know, that each spouse gets a $250,000 exemption. So you can exempt up to $500,000 for a couple. But, many people have had $1 million gains on their homes, and they are basically the tax code essentially, effectively, prevents them from selling their home. And especially, we have a very most of the listeners to this show, not all, but many of them are elderly, over the age of 65. They might want to sell their home that they've been in. They're empty nesters, might want to go move to, North Carolina or Florida, and they can't do it. And so our idea is, why not index that for inflation, since it's unfair to tax people on an inflationary gain anyway? And then why not, let people sell those homes? It opens up a lot of new inventory of housing. Is that something you've looked into?
It is. It's something that there's a lot of support for in the House. And if we use a budget reconciliation 3.0, yes. I think that's a terrific idea. The last time that number was indexed and adjusted, I think, was back in 1998.
It's been a long time. Yep.
Three decades ago. And you're exactly right. And that unlocks supply.
Huge.
Because the transfer of that house to a new young couple starting out facilitates the economy growing, facilitates them having a home, allows that selling couple to relocate, downsize. They now have cash to downsize and remodel and travel. I mean, it's an amazing economic impact. And I'm hopeful that we could do that. I think it's an elegant idea. Others have suggested rental home owners over 70 that own units, maybe they too could get some capital gain break as they retire and sell those those homes that could be used for single family occupancy, that they too might have that. So these are some of the tax-related ideas we're looking at on the supply side.
Well, by the way, if you did the plan that Laffer and I are talking about, you would actually raise revenue for every single time for the last 60 years we've cut the capital gains tax because of what you described, the unlocking effect. You actually get more revenues. I'm sure you're aware of this. You're a supply sider as I am and Laffer is, but you would actually, we estimate you could raise, if you were basically giving people, say, a 2-year window, you can sell your home, you don't have to pay a tax on the inflationary gain. We estimate you could raise $100 billion. So you would free up housing. You'd have more money for because remember, people forget this. There's a way around paying the capital gains tax on your house. You die with it. So it's the dumbest system we have right now. So a lot of that money would never be taxed. So that's something I hope you'll keep in mind. And by the way, I want to come and visit you and talk to you more about this, because I think this would be an exceptional thing to do. The other question I have for you is this is tricky because you don't really have control in the House of Representatives over local zoning ordinances. But our research shows that a lot of the problem with the shortage of supply of housing is due to zoning ordinances in these local communities that won't allow multifamily housing to be built.
Yeah, no, it's true. You see the NIMBYism, not in my backyard, run amok. And we have talked about, and in the bills, we've had debate over how do you have carrots and sticks to encourage lower costs, because the National Association of Home Builders estimates about 28% of the cost of a single-family home is regulatory overhead costs from zoning, development fees. And
so, by the way, hold on, so you're talking about if you buy a $300,000 house, you're talking about maybe $50,000 of that cost being regulatory.
Yeah, in certain markets, and it's higher in multifamily. Wow. And this is penalizing directly that per square foot, and therefore the rent needed to have a 10% return, right? And therefore you see the pressure for higher rents. And I think between new zoning and creating incentives, carrots and sticks on zoning is yes is the answer to your question. And secondly, my point about changing those HUD-related building codes, that too can bring in lower construction type techniques per square foot, and you let the banks get out and have more freedom to lend money for home construction on the supply side of finance and on the supply side, the regulatory function of lowering the cost for compliance, which is, as you say, disproportionately local. And, we have to push back against that.
Well, I've been talking to French Smith, who's one of the top guys doing housing issues. Thank you so much for. And I want to come and visit and talk to you more about this because you're a star on this, French. And thank you for all you do for our country, folks. This is the More Money Show, and we will be back in 1 minute.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?